Good morning. How's everyone doing? Oh, I like that. That's buenos dias. I think we got some other folks coming in, but we'll get started here shortly. Just so I can, I do a monthly town hall, but I know I also said that this one we'd largely spend and answer all your questions when it comes to the proposal I've raised, which is moving the municipal election from May to November. So just kind of by a show of hands, who is really interested in that latter topic? Okay, the vast majority of folks. Okay, I'm going to switch the order then of my presentation, just so we have a robust discussion about that piece. Okay. That is obviously the one that's the most time. Sorry. Okay. Okay, there we go. All right. Well, good. Why don't we just go then to that slide about the municipal election? Am I doing slides? Okay. Here we go. Okay. So backstory, right? Backstory, because I know folks are like, where did this come from? So a couple of weeks ago, I am reading the news, and I read that the Dallas City Council has passed a resolution to move their municipal election from May to November. And I was like, that's a big deal. I've read the article. The arguments for why they did it, very simple. It saves money for them, about $500,000. And two, all the research on this is very clear. Voters associate voting with November, okay? Dallas has really low turnout in their municipal elections. It was also in May. And so they've been trying for about a decade to get that changed. And their process was actually a little bit more complicated because it required that they change their charter. So they changed their charter last November. One of their state reps and state senators really brought this across the finish line in the ledge earlier this year. They passed this law that said, bipartisan support, that said, municipalities that have their municipal elections in May of an odd year, you can move it to November, but you have to do so by the end of this year, December 31st, 2025. And that's why Dallas moved very quickly, right? That's why Dallas moved very quickly. Because again, the arguments are the same. Increased turnout, and obviously the going in premise is the more that we hear from our neighbors, the better government works, right? Their challenge with turnout is similar to ours. It hovers around 10%. And so similar to us, when you've got a multi-billion-dollar budget, you want to make sure you hear from a good cross-section of people when determining who is going to be their advocates on the dais, right? So Dallas made that change earlier this year. I reached out to our city staff and I said, hey, this wasn't one of the issues that you raised with us in the readout from the ledge session. Why is that? City manager Eric Walsh said, well, this wasn't a city priority, so on the readout we didn't include it. And I said, well, this is a major change, something that affects the city. We should have known about this. And so that is what's driving the timeline. Okay, that's what's driving the timeline. So where we are now is we will have a B session on this topic this coming Wednesday. We've got a couple of folks that are going to come and speak, but really just kind of lay this out, right? And I know there are some materials that, again, talk about the benefit of this based on the city manager's assessment. If we moved from May to November, we would save between $800,000 and $1 million. What do we have in 2027? A budget gap, right? And we have that for frankly, any ways in which we can save money, we need to save money. Any ways in which we can hear from more of our neighbors, we need to do that, I would argue, okay? So we'll have the B session, and then
we would likely vote on this on the 18th of December, right? That is where I would like us to be. For context, someone's phone. For context, Houston, Dallas, and Austin all have their municipal elections in November. Why? Saves money, increased turnout. Okay, saves money, increased turnout. I'm one of those folks that if everyone around me is doing something different than what I'm doing, I want to know, what do they know that I don't know? Okay? So the fact that they have decided to move this way, we would be the only major city in Texas that still has a May odd year election if we don't move. Okay? Now somebody said, well, you know, there's certainly the cost savings. I would also argue there is the cost of not hearing from as many of our neighbors as possible if we continue to keep it in May. Okay? My goodness, if we ever have an instance where we are holding municipal elections during fiesta, shame on us. Nyosa wins every time, y'all. Right? We owe this to ourselves. We owe this to ourselves to get it right. Do I wish we had more time? Yes. However, I'm going to show you a slide here shortly about all the folks and leaders that have weighed in on this, that do this work day in, day out, and know how important this would be for the 7th largest city in the country. Okay? Next slide, please. When I say impact on turnout, what does that mean, and how do we know that? Okay? There were researchers, one from Rice University, another one from University of California, San Diego. They wrote a paper specific to San Antonio to help us understand what this could mean for our community. And I really appreciated the comparison that they did between Houston and San Antonio. I'm going to give folks a minute, right, just to read that statement there. Everyone raise your hand when you're done reading it. Okay. Again, these are, and if you were to scan the card in front of you with the QR code, you would see a link to that paper. I think we've also got hard copies in the back if you wanted to read that paper more fulsomely. So again, this is truly about how we can help ourselves. Some of you might be asking, well, if we don't do this by the end of the year, do we have another shot at this? The answer is very unlikely. Very unlikely. So what does that mean? In order for us to have another shot at this, you'd have to see another change in legislation at the state level. In speaking with some of the Dallas folks that really got this across the finish line, that is going to be a really hard lift for the San Antonio delegation, frankly, because all the other delegations have what they want and need already, right? So if we don't take the opportunity to do this now, it would be a big lift for our delegation and frankly a low priority for other people, which means we do it now or we don't do it, okay? Next slide, please. Some folks have said, we need community input. I couldn't agree more. I would like more community input. I am thankful, though, for the leaders already that have weighed in on this and said, this makes sense. This is what's right to do for our community. And this isn't, you know, look at these groups. Voto Latino, League of Women Voters San Antonio, right? Southwest Voter Registration Education Project, Peace Initiative, Texas Organizing Project, The first Latina elected to city council in any major city, the Honorable Berrio Zabal, who's here today. Thank you. Dr. Madrid, Dr. Cruz, Kathy Vale, people that do this work day in and day out are on board quickly because they understand the significance for our community. Okay? I'm very thankful for their support, as well as, frankly, others as well. Texas Latino Policy Institute, Coalition for Dignified Housing, et cetera, et cetera. You don't have to only care about voting rights to know that this is good for working people, right? Working people. Okay, let me see. Next, I think that was the last one, actually. Because folks are mainly here for, I'm going to leave people on that slide, though, yes. Because folks are mainly here for this topic, I want to make sure I answer all your questions on this topic, and then I'm happy to go to some of the other topics. Let me just address one of the questions that has come up already, which is, well, what would this mean for school districts, right? What would this mean for school districts? Frankly, the argument for us moving from May to November is exactly the same reason why those school districts should also move from May to November. It would also save them money, and they would also have higher turnout. Go look at the turnout for Edgewood ISD. Go look at their turnout versus some of the turnout for these other school districts. Edgewood ISD is in November of an on year, right? So that means there's state or federal races on that ballot. Much, much higher than some of these school board races in November of an off year. And again, we can debate the individual points, but at the end of the day, keep the main thing the main thing. Do you want to save money? This does that. Do you want to hear from more of your neighbors? This does that. Okay? All right. I'm going to take your questions. Yes, sir.
I don't see LULAC up there. Is there someone from LULAC?
So this is me. LULAC, there is a community letter that I did not list everybody on here, so that's on me. But there is a LULAC, Henry Rodriguez, Henry that signed it. So we happy to give you a copy of the letter.
The other question, I have another question. The study that you quoted, is that from an out-of-state organization?
No, so these two authors work together. One of them is at Rice University, the other one is at UC San Diego. They actually also wrote a similar assessment of the impact for Dallas when they moved there. So I know we have copies of it as well, and Issa can provide that for you. Thanks. Yes, ma'am.
If it passes city council by December 31st, does it go, if it passes city council, does it go on the ballot, or is that the final decision?
No, the legislation made this really simple. If cities act, and they can do so by a simple resolution, by the end of the year, this goes into effect. So the first time this would impact San Antonio is because now we're on a 4-year term. This would impact us in 2029. So what does that look like also in practice? That would extend the term for members from May to November, just to make sure we shift everybody, right? So there is a little bit of an extension, but that's what you have to do. That's obviously what Dallas had to do as well. But I think again, the benefits, long term, far outweigh if people have an issue with that. Yes, ma'am.
So I'm a precinct chair for 2039. Where is the Democratic Party? Have you met with the Democratic Party and the Republican Party on this?
So in my mind, this is a nonpartisan issue. Now, folks are welcome to weigh in however they'd like to, but at the end of the day, saving money, hearing from more of our neighbors, those are nonpartisan issues that are just good for democracy. Yes?
My name is
Welcome. Where are you coming from?
Florida.
Oh.
Jacksonville.
Oh, Jacksonville.
Okay, thank you.
He just moved from
All right,
Florida from Jacksonville. He moved here a year
yes.
ago.
Yeah, well, thank you for the opportunity to talk. I wrote something, if you don't mind. I'll try to read it.
Sure.
I'm a little nervous, so
Don't be nervous.
So yeah.
We're much friendlier in San Antonio than Jacksonville.
Right, I love the food though. Thank you. Well, I've been doing a little bit of studying on the environmental conditions and the changes, soil, moisture, vegetation.
river behavior over the last century. I can offer
Sir,
you.
can I interrupt
Yes, ma'am.
you?
Yes, ma'am.
Just because I want to make sure we stay on this one topic, and then we'll address other issues.
I thought it was general questions.
Yeah, no,
I am so
I'm
sorry.
happy to take those, but I want to make sure that we just kind of stay on this topic and address all of those questions
Thank you.
on this issue. So, yes, Pat?
I noticed on there you said something about B session.
Yeah.
Do you need people to show up to speak? At what time is your B session, Mayor?
Yeah, well, thank you. So everyone is always welcome to come speak. We'd love to hear from you. In fact, we need to hear from you. Okay? This is frankly a generational opportunity to get this right. We need to hear from you. 2 p.m. 2 p.m. on Wednesday. Yes, ma'am.
Are there invited speakers?
Yes, so good, thank you for that question. There is a representative from the Bexar County Education Coalition who represents many of the ISDs. There is interest on the council to hear how this would impact the ISDs, and that's important for us to understand. But again, the benefit to them is the same benefit to us of moving. For context as well, Dallas, as soon as Dallas City Council voted on that resolution to approve moving from May to November, the Dallas Community College also has recently voted to move it from May to November. And the Dallas ISD, so unlike San Antonio that has 17 ISDs, Dallas only has 1 ISD. They are going to vote on December 18th. My understanding is that that will very likely pass, like 99.9% pass, right? Because again, what's the benefit here? The more, when we go to dinner, right? The more people splitting the bill, the better, right? So that is the argument. That's why so many folks are moving it to it. And again, the timing of it and the fact that voters associate voting with November is the biggest benefit. Yes, sir.
Yes, my question is, since this is...
No, 1 second. We'll get to you, sir. 1 second. There's a group of people. Yeah.
Thank you. My name is Gordon Benjamin. I'm with the San Antonio Observer. And since this is a short notice for this to go in effect at the end of this year, and it won't go into effect fully until the 2029 election, does the city plan on campaigning, instituting a campaign to continuously remind voters that there's been a change from May until November?
Yes, absolutely.
So that we can benefit from the increased turnout and the impact that it has in our communities?
There will be a robust, depending on the outcome of that vote, there will be certainly a robust information campaign led by the city to help help folks understand the impact on elections, right, and timelines. Absolutely. Let me just say, Ms. Berrios, I'll ask the question, who else is going to speak? So one, we're going to have the representative from the Bexar County Elections Commission that will speak, who represents the ISDs. I have asked the author of the paper that I just referenced. She will also speak. She's coming in from Houston to be able to answer people's questions. Okay. Yes, Molly.
What are you going to do with all that money that you're saving if you should... Oh, what? I'm sorry, what? What are you going to do with all that money that you're going to be saving from, you said 800 to $1 million? Are you going to use it for programs that actually help people, or you're going to give it to the billionaire to pay for their arena? And if you really want to save money, how come you just don't stop the human sweeps that is wasting taxpayers' money, which happens 2-3 times a week? That also saves anywhere from $800 to $1 million as well per sweep.
The how we would prioritize investing the savings is to be determined with the rest of the council, but obviously we'd want to make sure that we prioritize those things that are most impactful to the entire city. Yes, in the back. Appreciate that. Thank you.
First off, you're doing an awesome job. Second of all, I'm working on the 18th. Is there an early election on this?
So this is what you can do if you'd like your council person to know where you are on this issue. Find out who your council person is. Ask them where they are on this issue, and frankly, talk to folks about it. Social media. Reach out to your others in other council districts that may not be as supportive of this. So, again, reach out to your council person if you can't come on the 18th. If you can come on the 10th, though, we'd still love to hear you then if that's possible. You can also, email folks, DM them, visit them, show up, knock on that door. But thank you for the question.
When you say municipal, is that only elected officials?
Or what about like a petition or charter change or other kind of ballot measure?
Yeah, I mean, this would have to, those aren't necessarily restricted by this. This is strictly just the municipal elections. Yes, ma'am. From Northside ISD board member, yes.
Thank you. I am Karen Freeman from Northside ISD. As far as school districts, we haven't had the opportunity to discuss the situation since it's relatively fresh, so I can't speak from my school board. But I guess what I've read recently in the Express News, and I don't know if we've had somebody here, but that in November of odd years, that actually the May election in odd years has had a higher turnout of voters than the November election from the years 2007 to 2023, that this 2025 year was an outlier, perhaps because of the issue on the ballot. But have you seen those numbers?
So those numbers, what I don't want to assume, right? What you don't want to assume is the people that turn out in November now that only show up for constitutional amendments, that would exactly be the same kinds of folks or the same numbers. That's a critical assumption, right? I think what we have also seen is that what's on the ballot matters in terms of who shows up. What's also very clear, November is when people associate with voting, right? So I think the data is very clear in terms of where we're different from Houston. And the only thing that's different on our municipal elections is that we have it in May rather, they have it in November, which contributes to them seeing roughly a double turnout. So I don't think we need to make assumptions about what what would be based on who has turned out today. It very much matters what's on the ballot.
Sorry, as a follow-up though, but one of the reasons to go to the November election is because we've had more voters, but that doesn't hold up with these particular statistics.
No, it does actually. So, I mean, what I think is always really important though is sometimes I think in our city we look at this and how it's always been right here. When we look at data from literally across the country, across the state, it shows a different story. And that's why Austin has moved it. That's why Dallas has moved it. That's why Houston has moved it, right? So if you want to, the research is very clear. If you want to save money, if you want to see higher turnout, I mean, let's go back to that slide, shall we? That's very clear. And frankly, the benefits to school districts moving is the exact same. You all, I mean, we're all facing some tight budgets, right? Houston sees 20% more registered voters. Got it. Okay, who's next? Yes, ma'am.
You've listed all the benefits to this. Do you have any reason why council wouldn't support this or why they won't vote on this?
Thank you for the question. What I have heard, right, and what has been also shared with me by some folks is that there's not enough time for community engagement. This is super important for our community, so I'm going to be super frank. Some of these folks that have said there's not enough time for community engagement on this topic voted on a term sheet to sign our community up for $489 million and did not have a community engagement. So I'm gonna be spared the lecture on that one. Yes, ma'am.
I'd like to say also that I've been in so many different town halls and meetings and convenings over the last 2 years, and there has been tremendous discussion about the need for more community engagement, the need for increasing voter turnout. So that topic has been covered extensively, in my opinion, in so many of the town halls, from the from the municipal election, from the county ballot measure, A and B. So we have had a lot of discussion about needing a priority for community engagement, community education, community involvement. So I just wanted to put that out there.
I mean, there's never too much, right? There's never too much, but we do have to recognize we have a timeline. The school districts, they don't have the same timeline that we do. Municipalities, if we want to do this, we have to do it by the end of the year. School districts, they have there's no deadline. They've got a deadline, but it's like way out. So they could do this next year, the following year, and that's Trustee HB, let me get the exact number for you. Just shared it with somebody earlier today. HB 3546. You all have much more time to consider this. And frankly, once we move it, next year, the year after that, but we have this one time. No, go read the legislation. That'd be beneficial. Yes, please.
I participated in a similar town hall in 2017. And the big thing was, we would have runoffs during the Christmas season or whatever, and that was a turnoff to everybody. I just wonder, since there are more cities that are doing November elections, how are the runoffs? Do you know anything about how the runoffs work over there? That was the main thing that was against it back then.
Look, I mean, I don't think there's no perfect solution, but there is clearly a way that is better than the other way, right? Yes. Oh, sorry.
So when I talk to other people to get out to vote, a lot of people assume that election day always falls on a Tuesday as opposed to when election day actually is. So if this passes, is election day going to be on a Tuesday?
Yeah, I mean, yes. Yeah. Yes, sir.
Yes, what about the people, I understand the issue, but what about giving the people with disabilities extra time to get out to the polls and vote, just like everybody else?
So the benefit of also doing this in November is in November, you have more sites. You have more sites open, so it's actually easier to go vote because you'll have more sites open. In terms of the accessibility piece, I mean, that's something I think we can work with the elections administrator on kind of separately that we frankly always need to be improving. But that's the other benefit to November is more sites available, more sites open. Oh, yes, please, I'm sorry. 1 second.
Thank you. All of us have experts that we listen to on important subjects. We do research. We don't just go for something because we like whoever is against it or for it or whatever. Those of us who are sitting here with gray hair have a long history of struggling so that all people have the right granted by the Constitution of one person, one vote. One of my experts is sitting right here, well, two of them, Lydia Camarillo, Manuel Garza, who Lydia is the executive director of the nationwide Southwest Voter Registration and Education Project that just celebrated 50 years of working for us. For years, the biggest issue we have had, particularly as minority people and Latinos, is that there is always an effort to take that right to vote away from us. We were heartened and we worked for it to get the Voting Rights Act some years ago. So what's happening now? Either by the federal government, by the state government, we are being attacked. We are being ignored in all kinds of ways. Even the Supreme Court, the state, the governor. So when someone tells me that there are going to be more Latinos, more of every part of the city, but particularly more Latinos, because that's my expertise. That's our expertise. I say yes, and I cannot see any reason why somebody would not vote for that. And what I urge all of us to do, this is our city. You know, we have a mayor that brought this out, and I'm so grateful that you did this and that you opened up this morning so that we could pontificate here. But as long as I have the microphone to ask each of you to take it very personally, it's not the city council's issue, it is not the mayor's issue by herself, it is our issue. And if there is a way that we can open up the system for more people to vote, we have to do it. So I ask that you show up at the B session so that all the city council persons can know how important it is for the people. And may I add that I don't think you're gonna have a march downtown of people who are going to say, you're leaving us out. And you know why? Because a lot of the people that are left out of everything are the most vulnerable people in this city. So we have to take responsibility for it, and excuse the pontification, Mayor, but I've done it for a long time.
First, my name is Michelle Durham, and I'm with Beat AIDS here in San Antonio, and I admire also your candor and the fact that you were able to bring an issue that none of your staff members brought to you first through your own research. I think that's great on behalf of the people. I think that's cool. I mean, how many mayors come to us and tell us they figured it out on their own? Their staff didn't bring it to them. That's really cool. I agree that it really makes a lot of sense to save money and get more voters out. My question is, and I wasn't sure if I could see it through the data that you shared so far, do you know whether or not the increase in voters will be outweighed with influential or higher economic folks than it will be with folks who are the most vulnerable populations? Do you have that data? Whether that, becomes disproportionate once we go to November. Thank you.
So that's a good question. Thank you for the kind compliment. I don't want us to assume, because the data doesn't show this, that because you put it at a time when more people know to vote, that only a certain kind of folk will vote. That's a very dangerous assumption, right? That what we know, people associate voting with November, all people, right? So we can help ourselves there. I don't accept the premise that only a certain kind of person with a certain kind of education and a certain kind of income, which in our community equates to a certain kind of zip code, right? I'm not assuming that only those folks are going to get it, because that's not true. Lydia, thank you for joining us today. Lydia's spearheaded a community letter, and I'd like to offer you some time if you wanted to speak just kind of how you see this effort, given your leadership and what this could mean for our community.
Sure. Thank you. First of all, buenos dias. Good morning. I think I've been asked to go to the front. Con permiso. Good morning. Buenos días. Eso es mejor, ¿verdad? Buenos días. Ya tenemos el cafecito y el pan. So I think for Southwest Voter Registration Education Project, some of you had the privilege and pleasure of meeting our founder, Willie Velasquez. I know I did. And some of us have worked on this issue, including Willie and folks in Southwest Voter, and many of you here in the House, those of you that have worked with Southwest Voter, I thank you from my heart, and I continue to ask you, let's work together to make sure that all voters turn out to vote. As soon as I found out about this issue, and I too found out about it literally on Monday, and it's not because I'm not paying attention to these kinds of issues, because we're always paying attention to this. I've had the privilege and honor of testifying before the U.S. Senate Judiciary Committee on how Texas is creating voter suppression and how we should be passing the John Lewis Voting Rights Act before they take away all our stuff before the Supreme Court. So we've been busy, as you all know. We're one of the plaintiffs along with LULAC in LULAC versus Abbott, where we're trying to make sure that the congressional districts, 5 of them that are being eliminated, and I say are being stolen, have been erased. And in 2026, we're going to have unconstitutional districts that we voters who live in those districts will be voting, and we, Southwest Voter, will be organizing so that Latinos and communities of color and other communities turn out to vote in those districts that we have lost. But let me just say this is really simple. Do we want to see more people participating in America's democracy? Yes or no? Yes. No ifs and buts. Yes. Do we want to save money? Yes. Do we care about the school districts? Of course we do. But they have all the time, and we, Southwest Voter, promises to help talk to the leaders of the school districts and community folks in those districts to turn out to vote, to vote in favor of this move. We know that they need to be attached, school districts that is, to an entity so that their cost for holding elections will be less. Well, we have literally 3 to 4 years to work on making sure that people understand why this matters, and it won't cost them anything. Will we see more people voting in November? Absolutely. Absolutely. Will more people be engaged? Of course, there's going to be city council and maybe even mayoral races on some occasion during that time, so more people will be engaging. The candidates will spending resources to make sure that the candidates understand. Are we doing enough? Of course not. We are not a perfect union yet, but we see this. As soon as I realized this, we decided Southwest Voter to include leaders around the country, around the state, forgive me, I'm doing both, around the city who care about this issue to join us. And we're asking you all to help us get folks to agree. Is it a perfect response for full participation? We are not there yet. But what do we know about Texas? They are always trying to stop us from having those of us that can vote. And what do we know about elected officials? If we make the time to elect candidates who care about our issues and fight for the issues, we have a different outcome. Change the voter, change the outcome. I say we should move to November. Thank you.
I've lived in Texas for 30 years. And for the 30 years before that, I lived in California, where there are unified elections, and they're predictable. And I arrived here and discovered that there are odd elections at all times. And the strangest one for me was a school district election in Comal County, where I used to live, that was a stealth election, called all of a sudden so that the people would not show up, so that only the parents who wanted to vote for it could be there. Putting everything in one spot really, really helps generate knowledge and generate the turnout for this. I'm not saying Texas is worse than California on a whole lot of things, but it's time we started to do this.
There's one community that I want to make sure that we consider as well. Sometimes get left out of the conversation, even though this is Military City USA, right? So think about those military members that are deployed, or their families are, again, they're in some different place and they've got to mail in their ballot, right? Again, people are thinking about this in November, not necessarily in May. So helping this certainly helps all folks, but let's also remember those folks that are doing literally the nation's work that we could also be helping by moving this to November.
Any other questions?
Just a real quick question. You said that the 70% want more community engagement. I'm sorry. So, oh, I'm sorry, the folks, some council persons are saying that they want more community engagement. You have a lot of community engagement here. Where is the D1 representative? Why isn't she here? And you do get a lot of community engagement on Project Marvel, Black Ranch Park, and they still go against the people. No matter what the community engagement is, they are still constantly going against the people. Why are they wanting community engagement? They always go against us.
I'm not sure where Dr. Kaur is, though she certainly was invited to be here. Every one of the town halls that I do in the different districts, I always invite that council person, and I understand she wasn't able to be here this morning. To your point, I'm not, this was raised again with the council probably about 2 weeks ago now at this point, and so, there have been time to organize a town hall if they'd like to do that. I will say, I know Councilwoman Aldrete Gavito is having a town hall on Monday, so if folks would like to show up, they can do that. I don't know of any of the other council members, to include those that are saying we need more public input. I don't know of any of those that are actually themselves having a town hall or anything to that effect. So, it's one thing to talk about it, but then you got to do something about it. And if you don't, that also says something.
To your broader point, go to that slide again, please. The community leaders.
There's a whole lot of community up here. A whole lot of, not only community, but experts. Experts through research, through lived experience. And again, the fact that these folks weighed in so quickly, I think they recognize what this means for our city and what it means if we let this go by. So I'm, again, very thankful for all the leaders. A cross-section, Community Land Trust, Historic West Side Residents Association, right? It's not just voting, it's understanding that when you have more people participating, government works better on all the things you care about. Okay. Any other questions on this? Yes, ma'am.
Thank you so much for the opportunity to speak or say something, and thank you for all that you're doing. We kind of touched base a little bit about the disabled and the elderly by a gentleman who asked that question. Right now we have a lot of stuff that we're doing that is kind of COVID, like the shopping, the Ubers, the deliveries. What about something like that, like in a mobile, where we go to the disabled or the elderly? I live in an elderly community, and I think that would help a lot of the elderly. I have 3 or 4 neighbors that they don't drive. Is that something that we could talk to someone about that? Just a question.
It's a really good question. And I always think about that when we go to the voting site and you see people come out, they'll bring out like the electronic ballot so people can use it that way. But there are some pretty strict restrictions, not city dictated, not county dictated, but state dictated, that affect how well you can actually do some of those things. And so to the broader point, what can we do? Right? This is what we can do as we look to do other things, frankly, continue to work on these other issues. But what can we do in this very limited time frame? Like, this is it, and this would do a lot. But a point well taken on how we help, differently abled people better participate in this process. I saw another hand go up here. Yes, ma'am.
I'm sorry, just wanted clarification. You mentioned, Mayor, that council members were introduced to the topic a couple of weeks ago?
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
So just to let you know, in terms of the elderly, et cetera, I'm not sure about the Republican Party, but I can tell you that within the Democratic Party, we ask our people to start asking, do you need a ride? We can pick you up. We can do whatever it is that we need to take you to vote. If you're 65 and over, we encourage you to do the mail, vote by mail. And so there are a number of things that we do in the party to try and help our elderly and our disabled.
Yes, ma'am.
Hi, my name is Susana Lopez-Krulevich. Do you have
Sorry,
Sorry about that.
It's okay. My name is Susana Lopez Krivich, and I was born and raised here in San Antonio. But I moved to California for about 21 years. I was up in the Bay Area. And one of the things that I really did appreciate about California was how easy they made it for us to vote. I mean, you know, you didn't have to sign up every year for people to be able to vote absentee. Most of the people vote by mail ballot, and just the ease of it. Every city at different spaces had, like at the libraries, you could go and drop off your ballot at secure ballot boxes. And coming back home 4 years ago, it just makes me so sad how difficult it is for my mother to vote, who can't leave the house, and how I have to go and, you know, she has to call in to get the ballot. You know, she's a Spanish speaker. You know, it's just like, it's ridiculous. And if there's, and this is an opportunity. It might not necessarily help my mother directly, but it at least, will encourage and will, make it easier, or if there's more participation in any way, why not? I think if anybody's opposed to this, it's not a matter of input, it's a matter of not caring about our rights and continue to strip them from us.
Make sure you reach out to your council people, your council folks, and make sure they hear from you on this. Okay? Did you have another question, ma'am? I thought your hand was up. You're okay? Okay, good. Any other questions on this topic? Yes, ma'am.
At the last election, I drove my 82-year-old mom to the voting poll, and she's ADA, so we asked if they could bring her the voting box to our vehicle. They only had one, and there were a lot of propositions to read. I ended up taking her inside because there were 2 people ahead of us, and we needed to go to our next appointment. But maybe they could have more of those boxes at the voting polls, the mobile ones.
Kathy wants to say
I just
something.
want to say something about equipment. It's my understanding that Bexar County received a $4 million grant. The Bexar election received a $4 million grant. Linda, is that correct? Yes? $4 million grant at Bexar, and that's for increasing equipment, increasing voting sites, increasing staff, meaning election judges, election workers. So I'm still waiting to hear kind of the plan, but we have $4 million to increase the purchase of more equipment, more sites, more staff. So we should be seeing some improvement in that area.
Thank you for that. Let me just say, let me say one more thing on what is the opportunity, again, if we don't do this by the end of the year. One council member has talked about, well, we can just address this in the charter review. Who is familiar with the charter review? Is that an easy process? If we want to save money, we want to hear from our neighbors, this is the easiest way to do that. And it keeps it nonpartisan because it's November of an off year. Yes, sir. And then.
I had a lengthy discussion last night with some friends that, and we talked about this. And I've been reaching out to a lot of the nonprofits and community organizations. So there's a whole lot more people that are supporting it.
Wonderful. They'll update the letter.
No, they already got the letter.
Good.
And so they're coming on board. But on last night's discussion was about, to the point the gentleman raised about the unified election in California. People are tired of election fatigue. So why don't we just have all these elections, just like in California, unified election process. And so this is a step toward that. And so I think that that's a good idea.
To your point, The legislation was very clear, right? Because some of you might be thinking, well, why don't we do it the way Austin does it? Austin does it not only in November, but November of an on year. Okay, this legislation that passed, it's restricted. This only applies to those municipalities that have it in May and want to move it to November in an odd year. So we're restricted in how much we can do, but this is the most we can do. We also got some folks that just walked in from the Zetas. The Zetas do great community engagement on frankly, all things to improve San Antonio. Thankful that they took the time to join. If you'd like to say a few words about about the issue, happy to pass you the mic. Not yet. That's okay. Okay, good. Okay, yeah.
So I just had a statement. So we're asking a lot about getting more voters engaged, but I believe we need to be reaching our state elected officials as well. I'm running for state house, and from what I've seen, we have plenty of resources and availability to actually get people engaged and to get them out to vote, but at the state level, we are not doing anything about it. I think we need to reach our San Antonio delegation and let them know how we feel about this issue.
Yeah, I don't have the state house vote on this at the state level, at the House bill, but on the Senate bill, it was 30-0, unanimous. So Menendez, Gutierrez, they were all on board, right? I'm very thankful as well. When I spoke to Mayor Nuremberg, as you all know, this is something that he has supported previously and supports it to this day. Mayor Phil Hardberger also supports this. Again, just makes sense, right? Just makes sense. Other questions?
Mayor.
Yes, ma'am.
One of the arguments I heard was that
One of the arguments I heard from one of the city council persons was that we're going to be on the ballot along with all the other propositions that get introduced from the state level. And you know how in this past election, I mean, there were people sitting at the voting machine for 30 minutes, you know, trying to read through those 17 whatever propositions. Is that going to be, you know, a cumbersome thing for the voters to have to deal with in November?
Well, that, I mean, to be frank, putting 11 more things on a ballot in terms of municipal elections, I don't think is that burdensome when we think about the benefit. Now, some folks might also, I mean, they might be thinking about the burden in terms of having to campaign a little harder, right? There is that. But, you know, again, the benefits of this are, let's be very clear, the benefits to the community, clear. Does this make it harder maybe on some candidates? Some could see it that way. But if you see the benefit to the community, this is clear. Any other questions? Yeah, please.
Just have a comment that for all of those council members that perhaps thought we needed more engagement, more involvement, knowing that you've let them know we're having this town hall and this topic was going to be covered, and possibly they don't have enough time to pull theirs together. I don't see any representation of any one of them here. So if that issue is that important to them, why aren't you present when it's been brought up to the public themselves to engage? And that's just a comment. I think that's something we need to be observant of. And contact your own council members and say, why weren't you there? Why weren't you present? If you want my involvement or you say I don't have enough time to do this, why weren't you present to make sure that I knew that you were involved as well? Just a comment. And I think that it's just something that we all need to take into account. My council person is not here, but there aren't any other ones here. And in fact, any of the city representatives that needed to be here or should be here, other than your staff, I don't see it. Thank you.
I learned a long time ago I can only control myself, right? Yes, sir.
One of the things that has come out in my personal opinion with regards to the neighborhoods that are going to be impacted by Project Marvel, whatever happens, there's a phrase that I've developed, in addition to. So whatever the plans are, in addition to what they're going to do, it should be a priority to make sure that the neighborhoods surrounding that project do not suffer. And in response to what she said about organized efforts, there are nationally and local organizations that are also increasing their participation in getting out the vote, whether it's the NAACP, the Legal Defense Fund, the Mexican American Legal Defense and Education Fund, the ACLU, the League of Women Voters, Crew, Common Cause, Southwest Voter Education Project, and what's a new one, Swing Left, or We Ain't Buying It. But the public should be tired of special interests poisoning the candidates, and then you have what's elected to Congress I call enablers. You were elected to represent the people, and then you turn your back on the people, and the people are left, whether they're gonna need food stamps, or whether they need health care, or whether they need other different benefits. The Veterans Administration, both my father and my brother served in the military. I couldn't go because I was the last surviving son, and that irritates me to this day, but I still have to live with that. But I think people need to be able to capture the essence of this difficulty. If we don't speak up, we won't be heard. Su voto is su voz.
In the back. In the back. Kristen, okay.
Yes, my name is Kenneth Beatty. I see we're switching to November, right?
That's the proposal, yes, sir.
Yeah, okay. I just want to ask one question. Will the blue tsunami sweep through Texas to save Americans?
Yeah, well, so, you know, as I shared, the merits of the argument are nonpartisan. We save money, we hear more from our neighbors, and we keep it nonpartisan, as it does in an odd year. So those are nonpartisan arguments, all of which strengthen our democracy. Any other questions on this topic? Okay. Well, look, thank you again, right? B session Wednesday, 2 p.m. And then again, really planning for a vote on the 18th. Yes, please. And again, you've got these cards here that have more information about the papers and whatnot. I'm going to highlight just a couple of other items that are going on at City Hall, but I'm going to put a bow on this topic. Yes, please.
I actually came here not to talk about that. I'm just responding to, but I'm very deeply concerned that the city is giving Sam Ministries, I don't know, what is it, $1 million, $2 million or something for the rental of the Holiday Inn Hotel, which can put up to about 400 to 500 folks that are facing houselessness in their hotel. I have personally spoken with 2 managers at Sam Ministries, and they told me that they are not taking new intakes. They have ceased taking new intakes to go into that hotel. And I have emailed Rex from Sam Ministries, and he has yet to respond to me. Why are we giving them $1 to $2 million to rent out that hotel, only for me to be told by 2 managers that they ceased taking new intakes? And why is only one very small nonprofit called, we all know as Cub, they're preparing to open up their center as a 24-hour warming center. They're preparing to open it up even in the 50s, but the city staff and the council seem like they want the people to just die on the streets, because they have this rule that says they will only open up a 24-hour center if it reaches 32 degrees for a prolonged amount of time. I've already spoken to everybody with BCOEM and everyone. He's the one that makes that decision and whatever makes the recommendation to open it up. 32 degrees in Texas. This is not Canada. This is not the Twin Cities in Minneapolis. This is not, it's ridiculous. People are dying now. People are dying either by violent fatalities in District 7 or other districts, east side, everywhere. Or they're having to face the climate crisis of either being too cold in the 50s, dying from hypothermia, and the city is not doing anything. Only one organization has stepped forward and preparing to open up their place, to give people a place. And they're too small. They can't handle everyone. So why can't the city actually stop being complicit and actually practice on what's actually compassion? Do we need the monks to come down here, or what?
Thank you, Molly. Daniel is going to take this, and I don't have an answer right now. I have not engaged directly on them, but we owe you an answer. And as always, we'll put out information about warming centers, where they are location-wise, what their parameters are. But of course, we want to make sure all of our neighbors, right, have a safe place to be, regardless of the temperature, but most importantly during the extreme weather events. And to your point, yeah, we deal with it a little differently. That are more used to that type of weather. But Daniel will provide you with it. So Daniel will. Okay. Is this kind of in general, or is it without? So, okay. Let me go to that. Okay. I'm gonna go to the slide. Let me just highlight a couple of things because I know we only have about 20 minutes left. But I want to highlight a couple of the other things that are going on next week.
Hello. Yes. Yes, they're finishing up the town hall.
You don't want to,
Sure. I can start.
That's what I'm calling it.
Here comes another.
That's why I'm calling it. I can't because they're moving us to the room.
Hello.
They're done. They're done. It's done. It's in my cart. It's in my cart.
Can I take a selfie with you? Oh, you always can I take a selfie? No.
We're going upstairs.
Where you going? To the
The mayor, or the press release. The press release.
I think you can fit. We'll make it work. We'll make it. Come on. Come on. Come on. So we can just do one trip.
Thanks.
Okay.
You can
put your stuff in. Thank you.
We should have gone to the other elevators.
Huh?
They were around the corner.
We have to get security to
Oh,
badge
this
because
one.
this
This
is the
side.
administrative floor.
Yeah, that's right.
The forbidden floor. I know. I've never been. I was like, oh my god, I've never been to this floor. How exciting. Okay, so when we exit, we're gonna make a left. Floor 4. Here you go. I'll go
To the left.
Yes, make a left. Going down. No, not yet. Please, not yet. Uh-oh, you're thinking about that. Oh, wait. There you go. There you go. Okay, let's go this way. This whole area is pretty much in this room is for us, okay?
Oh, wonderful.
So y'all pick your spots.
Yeah, we're good.
Okay.
Yeah, it is
Huh?
nice. The light's better.
Okay, great. So let's hang out. I'll be back.
that long.
It's good.
Oh, sure. Okay. Sorry? Yeah, please, thanks.
All right, with the short notice on this, is there enough time to get public input?
Yes. Yeah. You saw the slide of community leaders that have weighed in on this. Voto Latino, right? Major voting rights group for Latino community. Southwest Voter Education Project was just here, Lydia Camarillo. There's lots of folks that have worked on this issue that are experts in it that have very quickly supported this idea because, again, they understand the benefit of this both in terms of cost savings, right? By the city manager's estimate, this could save us between $800K and $1 million, as well as the turnout piece, right? It's very clear voters associate voting with November, and that's why Houston, Dallas, Austin, all of their municipal elections are in November. I would hate for us to miss out on this opportunity. Do I wish we had more time? Yes. I wish this would have been flagged for us, for the city council much earlier as part of the ledge wrap-up, but it was not. And so I think it's really important, given this opportunity, and if we don't do it by the end of the year, we lose the opportunity, right? Lose the opportunity to do this. The ISDs have more time to figure this out. I know some folks are concerned about the considerations, but frankly, the benefits to them are the same benefits to us. Higher turnout, and it saves money, okay?
What are some of the concerns you've heard from today?
I think some of the concerns were that there are some folks on council that don't support this. So I think folks, again, you just heard from Maria Berriozabal, right? The first Latina councilwoman of any city council in any major city, recognizes the importance of this moment, right? And why we have to do all that we can to help people vote, right? Again, people associate voting with November. So this makes a lot of sense, and that's why other municipalities have already done this. We should not get left behind.
Do you think some of the other issues, say, the other ballot measures that come on the big ballot will have an effect on the city council ballot? Or when they all come together on one ballot. It might be long, it might be short. Do you think that will be an hindrance on people voting?
And look, I think, again, the data is clear that people associate voting with November. So if we care about saving dollars, if we care about higher turnout, moving it from May to November makes sense. Okay. Question?
Yes, I do have a question. I know you spoke also on the infrastructure and public safety, and with the parent vital 6-month and mark from the heavy flooding in that area, are there any plans for like flooding mitigation there or throughout the city?
Yeah, as part of that, I asked, again, the city manager to help us have a more strategic plan in terms of how we're going to identify and then prioritize flood projects in our community, to include those that are on the state flood plan, as well as those that we know are kind of high risk, that require a high response, for example, when by public safety when there's rain. So we are also going to do a quarterly update on the implementation of the recommendations from that Kleinfeldl report, right? So we'll do that. But as we look toward the next bond, and people expect us to make investments in these, in particular flood-related projects, we need to have a strategic plan that helps us identify and then prioritize that. So the city manager and staff are working on that.
Any long-term infrastructure plans for the city?
Yes, of course, always, right? Yeah, and of course the flood piece is part of that. Thank you. Yeah. Okay, thanks. Yeah. Okay, thank you.
Yes.